Hello, everybody. So, I came to a realization probably around last night, and I've been coming to it. I've been hitting a lot of walls, and I've been kind of wondering why is this wall in front of me? Why can I not get over this wall? Why do I feel like I'm just like being burnt alive in life? You feel like there's a fire on you sometimes, like you just can't get out of, like things are darker than they're supposed to be, and it's not a good feeling. I've been feeling that a lot lately, and I kept wondering why. And I realized the only escape I ever had were nostalgic things, like a song I used to listen to or a TV show I used to watch. That was the only break I could ever really have from it. And I kept wondering why. And I've come to realize that it's really the need for innocence in my life. And I always thought innocence was kind of subjective, like, because I associated it with, like, purity of not having sex before. So I figured that it was like, you could still be innocent and have sex and stuff. But then I never thought about it again. I never really thought about what innocence is. And I've come to realize that what it is just decency, and it shows a care for life. It shows that you care about preserving yourself in life. That's why morals exist, you know? Like, honestly, I got into a lot of stuff that would be considered, like, not innocent, or gross, or just very adult. That's the word we like to use for it, right? Adult. As if adults can't be innocent, right? They can be. I'm 21 years old, and thank God I realized this now and not later. Can't believe it took me this long to realize it. But there is a need for innocence in life. You need innocence. Without it, you lose yourself completely. Like, you're going to end up wanting things that aren't really good for you. You're going to end up maybe doing things that aren't really good for you. If you don't have the coordinates in your head for where innocence is and isn't, you're going to keep doing those bad things thinking like, there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. Like, why does it cause so many problems? And you're just not going to know when to stop. And that was my problem. I figured, like, there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, though. So then you start to learn about moderation and balance, but there's just certain things that, if done, aren't good no matter how little you or a lot you do them. They're just bad. Like degrading somebody or calling somebody names. Like in a sexual context, it's very common for couples to call each other names and, play all kinds of different roles where someone's, being kind of mean, that's obviously very common, and I've obviously participated in it, and just recently have participated in it. But, because I have a girlfriend. But, I've come to realize that, and I made an agreement with her that, like, that stuff, if you do it long enough, there's something in me that starts to feel like I'm on, like, a roller coaster that I can't get off of. Like, there's no way off of this. And I realized the only way off is choosing innocence over urge. Like, you have urges to do those things after you keep doing them, and there's a thrill of, like, look how backwards and wrong this is, but we're going to do it anyway because, whatever. There's not even a reason, really. But if you choose innocence over that, you don't feel messed up. You don't feel wrong anymore. You don't really feel bad anymore. And there's a time for everything. But, There's certain things that we think are okay in certain contexts that maybe actually are never okay, at least in that context. Maybe that's not the time for it, even though we think it is. Like, maybe there's a different time for it. And also, if you pick this time for this and you say this is the right time for this and that's what we're going to do, you miss the right time. You're missing out on something else. You can't have both. Otherwise, you have too much of it because then you're doing both. You know? I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to make as much sense of this as I possibly can. I've come to realize that before I ever watched pornography, I watched pornography when I was like 9 years old. Before I ever watched pornography, there was just the innocent feeling of like excitement, like, oh, I could do this and that, and it was all just exciting. And you could just talk about it for hours and hours with your friends and like, oh, what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it, and you just make up stories and all this cool stuff, right? And nothing can really compare to that excitement in life later on. It doesn't really compare to it, you know. And I realized that I can have that back if I just kind of let go of trying to live up to be this person that society tells me to be. Society tells you to be that way. No guy really wants to degrade somebody forever and ever, and just that's just who he is. Because he realizes at some point that there's a confliction there where how can I be as good as I can be when I'm choosing to do this thing that isn't good, you know? And you give yourself lies inside of your head and say, well, how bad is it really? And you just mess yourself up even more when you do that. And you just spiral out of control into a million different directions. And it becomes harder to find yourself. Every time I got lost, I thought I could never get more lost. Every time I went insane, I figured I could never go more insane. Every time I felt pain or frustration, I figured it could never hurt more than this, but it always got worse. I realized it's because I was ignoring the value of innocence. That anybody can be innocent no matter what they do. It doesn't matter what you've done, you can choose to be innocent now. And that's what, like, Christ is all about. And I don't want to make this a religious video, but I'm just saying, innocence is a concept we can all understand. And now that I've incorporated it back into my life and I can see things from a new perspective. I feel like I'm a kid again, but I also feel like more of a man than I've ever felt. It's the perfect combination of excitement for being alive when you get away from all of that garbage. You know, you can't decorate garbage. You know, it's still gonna smell. You know, it's still gonna take up space. It's still gonna be what it is. You gotta get rid of it. So that's what this video is about, just the value of innocence. Innocence really is important, and I've incorporated it back into my life. And let me be very clear. I think that having sex with your partner is completely innocent. And I think that even having rough sex with your partner is completely innocent. I think even bondage is pretty innocent. But when you start calling each other names and degrading each other, you are perpetuating this very negative self-talk and you know, it's not verbal abuse because it's wanted. It's agreed upon that that's what's going to be said. But it still is what it is, whether you call it verbal abuse or not, right? And I used to be into that stuff. I was like, yeah, you know, I was a freak. But I've come to realize that, like, nobody's actually born that way. We become like that. You know, for whatever reason, a million reasons. Whether you're taught that or you're taught not to do it so you like doing it more, or you have a thrill that you get out of doing what's wrong, or whatever. That stuff is short-lived. It doesn't last very long. So I've come to realize that if I really want to be the best person I can be and make this life count, I need to be innocent. and I can still have sex, and I can still go out, and I can still drink, which I don't drink, but I could still go out and have fun and go to parties and clubs, and I could still be innocent while I'm doing those things. Don't just believe the overall synopsis of what the word innocent means. Innocent is anything that doesn't cause harm. That's innocent. Anything that doesn't cause harm. You can get drunk and be innocent. You can get totally wasted, shit-faced, and be innocent, as long as you're not doing too much harm to your body. Innocence has a much larger wavelength than we give it credit for. You can be innocent in so many different ways and not step outside of it. There is actually a lot of freedom in being innocent. Most people, when you tell them they can still have sex and drink, that's pretty much, they're pretty much sold as long as they can still do those things. They appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm going to start living a more innocent life. I'm not saying I'm not going to fall short. I'm not saying I'm not going to, I'm human. I'm going to fall short sometimes, but the overall goal is to just live innocently. And if I slip up 10 or 1,000 times, I'm going to pick myself back up and live innocently after that. Not that I'm planning to fall, but that's why it's falling. It's not planned. So that's what the video is about. I finally found myself. And how you know you finally found yourself is that you don't care about saying that. I don't care if I say I found myself. I don't have any anxiety or I'm not anxious about it. I'm not like waiting for a result. I know I've found it. I don't need to keep looking, and So I feel like that video needed to be made, and I'm going to be making videos about dreams. I used to make videos about the dreams that I've had, and I went all the way from the letter A to like 100. I went letters first and then numbers. This time I'm going to do colors, then I'm going to do shapes, then I'm going to do letters, and then I'm going to do numbers. And that's because I have a lot of dreams, obviously. Every night I sleep, I have a dream, so. All right, my dogs are starting to bark, so I got to go. I love you guys, and just think about what I said, Like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment if you feel like it. And I'll be back in a flash.